Okay, look, everyone knows that the British Empire was huge and important and also kind of bad, right? But how did it go from this to this? Well, here's the entire history of the British Empire in 100 seconds. Let's do this. In 1588, England defeated the Spanish Armada, establishing England's naval supremacy and its first overseas empire. England became a global naval power due to the introduction of accounting rules for ships, which led to standardized ships and accounting practices. England took control of large amounts of gold and silver from the Americas, Asia, and Africa. This influx of wealth funded an industrial revolution that made England richer than every other country on Earth, including China, which was the world's second richest country at the time. So England decided to start a whole new religion. No, just kidding. They started a whole new monarchy. Queen Elizabeth I died childless. So after her, King James VI of Scotland came to the throne of England. His descendants would rule England, Scotland, and Ireland for the next 274 years. After defeating the Spanish Armada, England began conquering the seas and established 13 colonies in North America, many of which were funded by wealthy Englishmen who were given land in exchange for starting a colony there. The French had already colonized much of Canada and the U.S. East Coast, but England kicked them out. England also fought with Spain over control of the Caribbean and Central America. In North America, the colonies grew slowly but steadily. Slavery was introduced into the British colonies around this time, leading to the eventual American Revolution, where the 13 colonies declared independence from Britain in 1776, despite losing the American colonies. England was still a global superpower. At this time, Europe was obsessed with classifying everything and naming things. And the way they did this was by sending explorers to find new things to classify and name. During this time, the race for Africa began between Europeans, resulting in multiple European nations colonizing Africa. Britain colonized South Africa, which had previously been a Dutch colony. Meanwhile, slavery had become an essential part of the economy in the Caribbean and colonies in South America. As a result, Britain expanded slavery throughout its colonies. The British East India Company was formed and quickly became incredibly powerful, ruling over much of India, as well as having trading posts across Asia. Meanwhile, Britain was fighting a lot of wars with France to see who would dominate the world. At this time, the Napoleonic Wars took place between Britain, France, and their allies. Napoleon invaded Russia, but lost. Then he tried to invade Britain, but failed. Eventually, he was exiled to an island where he would later escape and attempt to take over France again, only to be defeated and shot by an assassin. Following this, Britain and France entered a period of peace known as the Pax Britannica. This allowed the British Empire to flourish and grow even more. During this time, Queen Victoria came to the throne of Britain and would reign for the next 63 years. During her reign, Britain would conquer half of the world. The Second Boer War took place where Britain fought against the Boers, descendants of Dutch settlers in South Africa. The war was costly for Britain, so they passed new laws restricting voting rights. Also, during this time, Britain took control of Egypt. During the early 1900s, rival European powers began to challenge British power, especially Germany, which was rapidly industrializing and challenging Britain's naval dominance. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated by a Serbian while visiting Bosnia, an event that would lead to World War I. Britain went to war with Germany over control of Belgium. Britain had suffered greatly during the war and sought to acquire territories in exchange for their sacrifices. The Ottoman Empire had collapsed, so Britain took control of Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq. Britain also took control of German colonies in Africa and the Pacific. During the interwar period, Britain experienced significant economic hardship as a result of World War I and the Great Depression. The Irish Free State was established following the Easter Rising, an unsuccessful attempt by Irish Republicans to end British rule in Ireland. The British Union was formed in 1940 when Great Britain and Northern Ireland united to form the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. World War II began with Germany invading Poland. Britain declared war on Germany and began fighting against them in Europe and around the world. Winston Churchill became Prime Minister and rallied the British people to fight against Germany. The war ended with the defeat of Germany and Japan. Following the war, Britain experienced decolonization, where many of its colonies became independent countries. Despite this, the British Commonwealth was formed, which was a group of countries that were once British colonies and still have close ties to Britain. Today, the British Empire is long gone, but its legacy continues to live on through the many English-speaking countries around the world. Alright, that's all I got. See you guys next time. Alright, so first off, why is it called the British Empire and not the England Empire or the UK Empire? Well, the story of the British Empire actually starts before the United Kingdom even existed. So, originally, it was just the English Empire. And then, in 1801, the parliaments of Great Britain and Ireland united Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. So then, it became the British Empire. Now, if you include the British colonies in this term, then yes, the British Empire predates the United Kingdom. But the United Kingdom has always been the governing power of the empire. Anyway, I hope that clears that up. Now, one thing that I didn't mention was the French Revolution. It was actually a pretty big deal, and it happened right smack dab in the middle of the British Empire's glory days. The French Revolution was a period of radical social and political upheaval in France that began in 1789 and ended in 1799. It was a time of great change in France and Europe as a whole, and it had a profound impact on the British Empire. You see, the French monarchy had been weakened by years of extravagant spending and the American Revolution. When the French king, Louis XVI, attempted to impose new taxes on his subjects, the people of France revolted. This led to the storming of the Bastille, a famous prison in Paris, and the beginning of the French Revolution. The Revolution was marked by the rise of republicanism, which emphasized the importance of the people as the source of political power. This was in contrast to the traditional view that the king was the ultimate authority. The revolution also saw the abolition of feudalism and the establishment of a more egalitarian society. This meant that the old order of nobility and clergy were replaced by a new middle class. The French Revolution had a profound impact on the British Empire. The British had been closely tied to the French monarchy and had supported it financially during the American Revolution. However, the revolution in France led to the overthrow of the monarchy and the establishment of a republic. This caused a rift between Britain and France that would last for decades. Additionally, the ideals of the French Revolution, such as republicanism and egalitarianism, were seen as a threat to the stability of the British Empire. The British government was concerned that these ideas would spread to its own colonies and lead to rebellion. As a result, the British took a hard line against the French revolutionaries and went to war with them. Another thing that I didn't mention was the Opium Wars. So, here's the thing. In the early 1800s, the Chinese were not really interested in doing business with the British. They had everything they needed and didn't really need anything that the British had to offer. But the British had a lot of tea, and the Chinese were really into that tea. So the British found a loophole in the trade agreement by selling opium to the Chinese. The Chinese were not happy about this and eventually went to war with the British. The Opium Wars were a series of conflicts between the Chinese and the British in the mid-1800s. The wars were fought over control of trade in China and the British victory in the Second Opium War led to the opening of new trading ports for the British and the legalization of opium in China. The Opium Wars had a profound impact on the history of China and the British Empire. The wars marked the beginning of China's century of humiliation as a result of the war. The Chinese were forced to open up their country to foreign trade and investment. This led to the exploitation of Chinese resources and the growth of foreign influence in China. The wars also had a profound impact on the British Empire. The British victory in the wars gave them access to new markets and resources in China. This helped to fuel the growth of the British Empire and contributed to its status as a global superpower. So yeah, there's a lot more to the story of the British Empire, but those are the basics. If you want to learn more about the British Empire, I highly recommend checking out the series. Also, please subscribe because I'm trying to reach a milestone this year. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.